Okay, good morning everyone. It is Monday, May 10th, 2021, and we're going to get started with our pre-market analysis. I'd like to jump to our higher time frames. We did have the weekly close, so we have some nice confirmation of what is happening there on the higher time frame, at least from that perspective. So the 3-month, again, is just like it has been for weeks now. No signs of exhaustion. Same thing with the monthly now. And remember, we still have, another 20 days here until this monthly candle closes. So we can't read too much into the current candle. But overall, there's still no signs of exhaustion. Everything looks extremely bullish here. So here's our weekly bar, which officially closed on Friday. And just kind of looking here, you can see that we pushed up to make this new high, but the RVI actually pushed down to make a lower high. So there was a little bit of bearishness there, but overall you can see this candle, huge wick on the downside here. So very bullish looking despite the indication we're getting from RVI right now. But we do want to keep in mind that there is a little bit of an indication of some exhaustion there. As we push to make a new high, we get a lower high on RVI. So we're going to have to watch this week. Remember that this candle here has 5 days to develop, and it could very well start to come down lower, and then we could see RVI, which is up here right now, actually end up closing somewhere down here. So we're going to have to kind of keep that in mind. And for now, things look pretty bullish, but there is a little bit of an indication of some exhaustion in that push. On the daily, remember on Friday we were kind of seeing a bit of bearishness and expected a little bit of a pullback potentially from that, but we did end up pushing and pushed to make a new all-time high. And now, if you compare it to the previous high that we were looking at, we still have the potential for some exhaustion here. If we look at the actual candle to candle situation right now, we've pushed to make a new high, and so has RVI. But we do want to keep in mind that there is a little bit of an indication of some exhaustion here on the daily. And again, this has all day to develop, so we're going to want to jump down to some of these shorter time frames to see what's going on. So from our 4-hour perspective, everything looks super strong right now. The only thing that I'm noticing is that we have a pretty bullish, a nice bullish continuation pattern off of the overnight low here around, let's call it 42.22 quarter. So when we came down, we made a lower high, a lower low on RVI, but a higher low on price. And so from that low at 22 quarter, we do have the indications of some bullishness here. Now that can stay, and we can come all the way down to 42.16, and that indication would still be there. So we're going to want to watch this 16 level, and I'll go ahead and mark it on here on our 4-hour chart and just see kind of if we can't hold 42.22 quarter here in the beginning of this morning's market, we're going to want to hold 16. And if 16 cannot hold, then the whole story here from the 4-hour is not going to carry through. So again, 4-hour has a pretty nice bullish indication off the overnight low at 22 quarter, but the market could still pull all the way back to 42.16. And if it holds that general area, we will still have the bullish indication. So let's see what our other time frames are saying off that low here. And I am seeing the same thing here on the daily with a pretty decent bullish indication off the overnight low. Again, it could come all the way back to 16, and that would still be the case from this 1-hour as well. So I'll go ahead and mark it. And so we're going to have to watch here coming into the open. Now, when I look at the current high that we're making, the 4-hour does not have enough resolution to kind of zoom in and see what's going on. When you get to the hourly, you don't really see too many clear indications of bearishness here. off of the 42.32 area. And so we'll see what the intermediate time frames say off that high. But from the 1 hour perspective, all we have is a bullish indication from the overnight low. Let's take a look at our intermediates here. We'll jump to our 30-minute. And even the 30-minute still does not have any real divergence off of that high around 42.32. But what I'm noticing here is the bullishness that I'm seeing off of, not off of 42.22 quarter, but when we pulled back to test it and we only got to about 23.50 here, we got another bullish indication on our 30-minute. And so even if you come back, remember on the 60-minute, we were comparing the low back here from May 7th. If you do look at that low and compare it to what we're doing up in this area, we have pushed down pretty significantly on RVI, despite price pushing higher. So there are definitely some bullish indications off of that 22 quarter area. And then again, if we can hold 16, that's going to keep our bullish case for the morning so far. As far as what we're doing here up top, really no indications of bearishness as we push to 42.32 area. And then you can see very clearly that we did have that bearish signal last week or in the overnight here. So we pushed to make this overnight high and we got some bearish signals on the 30-minute. And just to kind of point out, just to be thorough here, the 60-minute also had that. I just was not really looking at that part of the chart. But you can see that we also had that bearishness, and then we got the pullback in the overnight. But now we have some decent bull signals off of the lows here. And so because we are in a bullish market, at least for the last few days, from May 4th, May 5th, into May 6th, and May 7th, you can see we were making pretty decent bull pushes just after the open. And so this morning we made a new high. We got a little bit of a pullback. And so because we're in this bullish type of trend right now, we do want to be looking for continuation patterns rather than looking to fade the move. And so we'll kind of have to keep in mind here that we did have our high time frames giving us the potential of some bearishness off the highs. And then when we look at the actual all-time high, we definitely see bear signals on a number of time frames. So could that mean that we're going to have a larger sell-off here? There's definitely the potential for it. But remember, we're going to set ourselves with some guidelines here, and we'll watch the 22 quarter, we'll watch the 16, and we'll see what they can do here. So let's jump to our 10-minute. And again, the 10-minute off of the all-time high, there was not necessarily the type of divergence I would like to see. So you could maybe argue that the 10-minute does not confirm what we saw on some of the other time frames off the all-time high. Now, if you extrapolate all the way back, yes, I mean, RVI was up here when we were down here in price, and so you could make the argument. But what I would like to see more so is maybe us pushing to a new high here, but then this actually pushing to a low high in the local area, and I don't see that. Now, when we come over to where we were looking earlier, we had the double bottom here off of the 2350, and then we had a kind of a very slight divergence. So this is confirming what we saw on the 30-minute. It's not really the sexiest setup, but it is definitely a bullish divergence off of 2350, just like we saw here on the 30-minute chart. And so we're again going to have to watch this level, 22 quarter, to see if it can hold and see if this follows through. Now on this 10-minute, you can definitely see a little bit of bearishness off of the high that we had just made here at 32.75. But remember that just means that we could have a potential pullback. We don't see it on the 30-minute, right? And we didn't see it on any of the other time frames so far. And so this is really just telling us there's a little bit of exhaustion as they push, but overall we've got a pullback now, and that could be all that we get. And let's just take a look here, and before I say anything, let me just confirm what my eyes are telling me here. We do have a little bit of bullishness now after this pullback. So we pushed all the way to 32.75. We pulled down to 27.25, so maybe 5-point pullback. And now there are some indications of bullishness. Now again, that is if we were to hold above this 26 area. But we're still going to keep our case that we made pretty much all the way back on the 4-hour and the 1-hour, which is if we can hold above 22.25 here, we're going to have a bullish bias, and ideally we would hold there, but 16 is going to be the line in the sand. So as long as we can hold above 16, all of those higher time frames will hold their bullish signals. So I'm just going to quickly kind of summarize everything that we were just looking at. Our super high time frames don't have clear indications of bearishness. When we get to our weekly candle that closed on Friday, we do have a little bit of exhaustion, but again, we are in a strong push. The weekly candle had a nice kind of, I guess, a huge wick to the downside, and so that is a bullish indication. And so we have some kind of contradictory indications on that one time frame, but the other high time frames all look very strong with no indications of pullback just yet. On our daily, it's too early to really say what's going on because this candle has, again, all day for it to develop. And so until that occurs, we really can't say too much on our daily. When we jump down to our 4-hour, that's when we started to notice a bullish indication off of this 22 area, understanding that we could go all the way down to 16 and we would still have a bullish case. So looking like we have some bullish indications on the pullback, and our 60-minute had bullish indications at the same area. Our 30-minute had the same bullish indications, and so did our 10-minute. And so that's kind of where we are right now. We'd like to ideally hold this 22.25 level, and 16 would be the last kind of stand for our bullish case. Now, if we want to look at overall legs and retracements and stuff, we do have the double bottom that we made on Friday. And so from that double bottom, we can look at the overall retracements that we're making here. And, you know, currently we held almost to the tick, the 38% retracement. And so that is a nice, strong case. And even if we were to pull back and test the 50% retracement of this whole thing, we would still be in bullish territory based off of our divergence analysis. And then outside of this leg here, now I am noticing obviously that 61.8 retracement of this whole push is also the 50% of the previous daily price action. And so there is some decent confluence there. And we'll have to kind of keep that in mind as we start pulling, if we start pulling back. Now we also have the smaller leg, and it might be hard to see, but we had a decent push up, pull back right into the 38, and then we launched. So from that low, we also have kind of this smaller leg, and it might be clearer to do on our 1-minute chart here. If we clear this up and we look at just that leg, you can see that we're basically defending the 61.8, 75% retracement level, and we've been making these higher lows in the pre-market. So we'll have to see if this trend continues. And as of right now, again, we do have a pretty bullish bias coming into the open, looking to hold at least 22.25 or 16.